Hi there, welcome to Nonsense Whisky. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we're going to be covering another new release. Just covered a new release last week in the McMira Appleblom, but now we're on to English whisky again and my local distillery. But before we get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to Whiskey Jason and fellow whisky tuber. He lives in Germany and he managed to get this before I did, and I only live 45 minutes away from the distillery. That's not because I didn't like it, but it's just pure laziness on my part, and he correctly called me out on it on his channel. So I'll put a link to his video up here if you want to go and check out an alternate viewpoint on this whiskey. Back to this one itself then. So we're going back to the Cotswolds. Now, any fans of the show will know I am a big fan of the Cotswolds. They are my local distillery, and they are a brand new distillery in the UK. Now, they've been going since kind of breaking of ground, maybe about 5 or 6 years now. So they've had whiskey being released for the last year and a half, something like that. This is their latest new release. It was released sometime in like October, November 2018. This is batch number 2, and this is their Founder's Choice cask strength option. Now, I have previously done a ex-bourbon cask strength, which I have just up here, and I haven't opened that. That's for another day, because to be honest with you, I don't think the ex-bourbon casks were really quite ready for that kind of high ABV treatment. This is slightly different, and we'll go into that a little bit later on, but I just want to talk a little bit about their process and what makes the Cotswolds so interesting. Now, you might be thinking, how can this possibly be 3 years old? And it is natural coloured as well. Get a look at that. Now, what they do, as per the sign, they've got a relatively unique process, but it is becoming more and more popular. It was kind of invented by this guy called Dr. Jim Swan, who's sadly not with us anymore, but he went into a load of new distilleries on their requests and sort of advised them on this new way of making casks. And it's STR, shaved, toasted and recharred. And essentially it is exactly that. They take old barrels that would ordinarily have been second, third, fourth fill, something like that. They specially select the ones they want, take them apart, they shave the previous char off, trying their best to leave in some of the previous liquid effect on there, and then they toast them again, which is a kind of light heating rather than direct flame, and then they rechar once they've built it up again. That creates, for want of a better way of describing it, new wood. So it's basically having a brand new barrel, which is why we can get something like this after only 3 years. Now, the original Cotswolds release, the one I have just behind over here as well, and I have covered that on the channel, so I'll put a link up there. That is a kind of mixture of their ex-bourbon barrels and their ex-barrique red wine barrels. This is just their ex-red wine barrels. Now, I love doing reviews like this because they've got complete open parity on their website. You can go on the website and you can read all of this stuff, and they tell you exactly how long they ferment for. They tell you exactly where they got their barrels from. They tell you exactly what yeast they're using, what malt they're using, what water they're using, exactly how long this was matured for. Because although it says batch 02 2018, it doesn't actually give you an age statement, whereas the standard release gives you the year of the barley, so you can kind of figure it out. But like I said, they've only been going maybe 4 or 5 years now max, so even if it wasn't only 3 years, it could only be a tops of 5. Well, I've banged on quite a lot about this particular one. Let's get into the whiskey and find out if it really is any good. Now, we've gone on about the colour. Obviously, this is non-chill filtered, natural coloured, cask strength. We're talking about 60.9%. Absolutely monumental figure. Now, on the nose, I don't think there's much portrayal of that high ABV. It does have a little kind of maltiness, a little hay-like nose to it that, in my opinion, portrays its youth just somewhat, but not a lot. I tend to get that kind of malty flavour off kind of scotches that are kind of less than 10 years old. Probably have been like, second fill, third fill, that sort of thing. But there's kind of a cereal note to it, so you're getting that kind of, if you've ever been to a distillery, you know it kind of smells like that, that kind of maltiness to it. But if I'm picking out a really weird tasting note, I would have to say it's kind of chocolatey. Very rich chocolatey nose to it. Let's try a bit on the palate. Oh, it has got a huge, huge, huge ABV initial palate to it. And my mouth just flooded with saliva when I've taken that hit. It's absolutely huge ABV. Lots of spice in there, lots of oaky spice. It's even more of those cereal notes from the nose. But it's got this fruity kind of overtone to it. Kind of, I want to say like red berry kind of fruit. So that's probably coming from the red wine, right? So, but it's just really well balanced. Once that initial kind of surprise of the high ABV has been and gone, it leaves the really nice kind of gentle fruitiness. It's a really kind of well-rounded dram, really well-rounded dram. Now, recently I attended I actually helped to get kind of set up and organise the day. But I went to the Whiskey Birmingham festival, and at one point during the day, the guy who came with the Cotswolds to run their stand needed to do a masterclass, and I had the honour of covering it for only 45 minutes for an hour, but a really easy job for me because they only had two. They had this one and they had the standard release, and I know those two drams in and out, so easy for me to talk about that over and over again. But the really resounding thing about it was people coming up to me with no knowledge of the Cotswolds whatsoever. I was telling them about the STR casks and what the difference between the two drams were, and people were going away saying it was the dram of the day. And I had also other people coming up to me saying, I've been told to try the Cotswolds Blue, which is this, you know, it's usually a grey box, this one's a blue box. Now, I didn't cover this last year when it first was released. It's £65 in the UK, and for me that's a little bit pricey, so coming up to Christmas I didn't really have the funds for that, but I took the punt on it this year, bought a bottle, and after trying it, of course, and it's just a fabulous dram, I really can't praise it enough. It is expensive, but I think if you're into kind of craft distilling, let's say, you know, these people, you can see the quality they put into their casks, and that kind of bleeds over into this, and you're not going to get a kind of quality of that from most other places, I would wager. So yeah, massively enthusiastic about these guys. This does not disappoint. That one does not disappoint. It did disappoint a few people. They thought it was a little bit youthful, but this one, I've not got a bad thing to say about this. Obviously it would be better if it was more aged, but I don't think that really matters at this stage. At 3 years old, it's pretty much bang on for me.